welcome to the show, mate. And you're someone that's had a really interesting career story and is doing some really great work in the disability space. But one thing before we dive into all that, I want to ask you about your transition from university into your career and kind of your first few jobs, because you studied music at university and went into consulting, which is really almost an unusual or uncommon transition. So I want to ask, was there a particular moment in that transition that led you from music into consulting?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for that really interesting intro. Hearing you call out some of the career points, it's actually just refreshing my memory, and I'm just remembering even some of those experiences that I may have slightly forgotten. So that's really interesting. But yeah, to answer your
Mm,
question, the context is that I was studying music at university and really looking at that intersection between music, technology, and culture. I really enjoyed just making technology for music, whether it be for stage, whether it be for production, whether it be for the studio, whether it be to help bands promote and tour. And it was just something that I enjoyed and something that I dabbled in and had a sense of play in. But I remember starting to get towards the end of my university degree and I was maybe in a final semester. And I thought to myself, well, shit, like while I'm a student and while I'm at university, I might as well take advantage of any of the resources that they've got here. Um, so I started just signing up to just whatever was on willy nilly, problem solving courses, leadership and communication workshops, just anything that I saw on the events calendar that even remotely looked interesting. I just signed up for it. And
mm,
it got to the point that I was running around the university. I'd just been to the gym, so I was wearing kind of tracky dats and looking really, really scruffy. And I was going to turn up to a workshop that I'd applied for. And I was in the new UTS building, which I didn't really know my way around, the one that looks like a cheese grater now. So they just built it, which shows my age. And I was running around and I saw a sign on the door and it said digital something something. So I thought, oh, this must be the room I'm in. So I opened up the door thinking I was 15 minutes late, and I walked in and there's no one else around. So thinking I'm late to this. So it's a little bit strange that there's no one here. But there was one guy at the front wearing a suit, and he looked at me and he said, "Mate, what are you doing here?" I said, I'm here for a workshop, and I didn't really know what I was going to. I just signed up for everything. He said, "Okay, no worries. Tell me a bit about yourself." My name's Andrew. I'm studying music and I build technology. Got chatting, and he said, "Oh yeah, you should sit down and join this workshop." And I'm thinking, well, yeah, I signed up for it, but what I noticed was on the table there were name cards, and of course mine wasn't there. But I sat down, and people started filing in, and they were all wearing suits and button ups and ties, and I'm thinking, I think I might be in the wrong workshop. But they all sit down very quietly, looking at me like, what the hell is this guy doing here? And the first, as everybody sits down, the man that facilitated the course, the first thing he asks is, who here did not study commerce or business or engineering or economics? And I put my hand up and he said, what did you study? I said, I studied music. And everybody in that room laughed. But he then went on to say, well, you all know why you're here. And I'm thinking, I don't know why I'm in this workshop. I don't know what's going on. And he said, you're here for the case interview for a strategy consulting role. And I thought to myself, okay, I've just walked into an interview that I didn't apply for, that I didn't get into, that everybody else here had actually gone through a number of other screening interviews to get into that was reasonably competitive. And he said, the format of this interview is we're going to give you a case question and you're going to use the subject matter experts in the room to ask questions, to diagnose, to try and get to the answer to solve the problem that we're presenting to you. And he said, the problem that we're going to present is a little bit different to what you're used to in an economics degree, a business degree, or an engineering degree, or the typical types of roles, that fields of study that tend to go into consulting. And he said, the case question is, how can we help emerging musicians break above the clutter of the digital market in order to create a sustainable arts industry worldwide? And thinking about this whole group that laughed at me for studying music, I just thought to myself, well, who's laughing now? The context of the interview was we spent 45 minutes interviewing subject matter experts, and at the end we all had to pitch our solution based on the information that we discovered. And because I'd already been enjoying working in the music industry and really, really enthusiastic about that, and thinking about changes in audio culture and digital streaming services and the things that I just enjoyed, I really thrived in this interview. I enjoyed talking to the subject matter experts. And when it was time to pitch, I thought to myself, look, I'm just going to get this out of the way. I'm feeling really uncomfortable because everyone was laughing at me. I was actually really anxious at the time. I didn't know what was going on. And I pitched a solution, talked about my background in the music industry, and said, all right, cool, I'm going to go now. But as I left, one of the facilitators of the interview chased me down and said, Andrew, I have to introduce you to somebody, and introduced me to the partner of this kind of strategy practice that was heading up the media entertainment vision. And yeah, they invited me to become a strategy consultant with them and help them
Hmm.
sell to some of their new music industry clients. So it was all a very, very serendipitous event. And it was very, very much like the first episode of Suits, if you've ever seen that. Couldn't have been planned. But that's how I accidentally walked into the wrong room and became a consultant.
Wow. That is amazing. That is seriously such a special story. And how things have turned out after that is like getting to where you are. I mean, really life
Definitely.
changing almost. And probably,
Look,
I
one of the
like that a
biggest
lot.
things I will say about that is at the time I didn't know what was happening. At the time I didn't know where any of that would lead, and more so at the time I felt really uncomfortable about all of these people from wearing suits and ties from traditional career paths, like laughing at me because they didn't think that a musician could become a consultant. But on
Mm.
the other side of that, it made sense, and people supported me along the way and embraced those skills, and it was all just about being myself and embracing what I enjoyed doing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I see what you mean. What, like your example of when you were speaking about